Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco and Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever DJ'd?
No, actually, I've never DJ'd. I've always wanted to, but I'm finding that my particular type of music I enjoy and enjoy playing at parties are not what most people enjoy listening to at playing at parties.
That's funny you say that. One time now, we haven't, in this season so far, I haven't pulled back in my own experiences that we normally have talked about in previous seasons, but there was one year, my daughter, when she was in middle school, I had accumulated all this different like lighting equipment and stuff we've done for various activities and stuff. And she's like, well, my dad, the dance was coming up at the middle school. She's like, my dad will DJ it. So I go in, set everything up, had a really cool system. But what I realized was very quickly that when you just nailed it, my musical tastes, even what I thought I knew of back then, 5-6 years ago, a middle schooler was not actually what middle schoolers listen to. So
yes,
that was just kind of awkward. But it was interesting. But of course, when I did it, I was using a fully digital system. I was using iTunes, all this different stuff. There's great apps that you can get on iPads and do this. But, you think of something in the world of disc jockeying, especially even today, there is this technique called scratching. Sometimes it's referred to as scrubbing. It's a technique where you move the vinyl record back and forth when you're using vinyl records on a turntable to produce rhythmic sounds. This became a much bigger deal in the 1970s with hip-hop music, and then in the 90s with rap rock, rap metal, new metal, a bunch of other genres. Here's the thing I didn't know. Scratching actually has its roots in the 1940s.
Oh.
And you'd say to yourself, wait, what are you talking about? So the whole technique of that manually moving a record on a turntable and listening and then, and then obviously moving in a certain way, that's all from the original manipulation that radio hosts would have to do to cue songs and jingles when they were producing a live broadcast. Yes.
It's funny. I actually know something about this because I was taught to do this.
Yes.
Because even though I went to college in the 90s, it turns out it was actually set during the 40s. I actually was taught how to cue records, even though I knew people that worked at a radio station. No one was using records at that point, but yet my communication class, they still taught us how to cue it. It's called ramping, and that's how. And also it can teach you to roll it back, and also that's when DJ still do it now because there's a technique. Basically, you have to go. You're listening to K104.1, your rock station, and then that's when the first line of the song hits. So they taught us how to do that. So you would roll it back and then play it just so you have long enough the intro that you could say the name of the thing and like you're listening to, and have your words end just as the first line of the song starts.
It's exactly right. I mean, and they had to do that with obviously ads and things like that. And you didn't want to do it. You wanted to do it live like that so that there wouldn't be a difference. Like if you tried to do it turning the turntable on and off, you'd have that initial slowdown where the music would come in and you don't want that. So you do scratching or a rudimentary version of it to make that all happen. That's amazing. I had no idea. Like, okay, seriously, all 80 years ago, people are doing this, not for necessarily the reasons that we've seen in recent music, but I was amazed by that. Clearly, Tony Stark thinks he knows a thing or two about scratching.
Yeah, he has a lot to learn here at minute 54 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, directed by Mr. Jon Favreau. One interesting thing about the record scratching thing, I'm trying to remember the name of the show now because I'm trying to. I think it was the Get Down that was on Netflix. It only lasted a season or so. It was about basically the rise of rap music and stuff. And Fab Five Freddy was one of so they talked about some of the people who did that, and they actually had an episode where the guy showed how to do it and talked about the whack. Wow. Like basically, here's the good part where the song hits, and you have to roll it back this far onto the thing, and then hold it, and then let it go right at the exact moment. So it'll hit right at that point, and that's when you bring up the thing. It was like I've seen people doing it, but I never understood what it was they were doing until they actually broke it down and showed you with diagrams, almost like here's where the good part of the song is, here's the whack, here's the bad part you don't want anybody to hear, and so you have to know. Like you have to just look at a record and know where it's going to be, and even we use like wax pencils or whatever to mark on the thing. And then it would you bring up the slider just at the right moment so that it would hit, and then the two songs would mix together. Is it a skill and an art?
No, it was, I mean, that was something, if you read about the early days in those days of radio when they would do this, they even helped shape the record industry. Because what all the different stations, you can imagine, stations were everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
All those stations.
You play the song, it's wearing down the album a little bit.
Exactly. But they would actually give feedback to the turntable manufacturers and say, look, this is what we need. We want you to make the table, heavier. We want you to make this change to the arm and the needle and the motor, the way the motor works. Like all of that feedback, this whole process is what helped to expand the record industry. Like it's unbelievable. Like that kind of stuff. Go to Wikipedia, go find it. You'll go down a whole rabbit hole of knowledge. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the first season, I think they only did one season of The Get Down, is on Netflix. It was one of the most expensive television shows ever made and did not do incredibly well, but it's really, really cool, like the stuff they showed. So I recommend checking that out too. So we're picking up where we left off, which is Tony and Natalie. They're hanging out, and she has given him the watch. She's given him a drink. She's given him makeup. What more is there to give except for bad advice? So Tony had asked if this was your last birthday party you were ever going to have, how would you celebrate it? And so Natalie started the line in this one, and she continues it here in minute 54. She says, I do whatever I wanted to do with whoever I wanted to do it with.
Whoa!
Which, once again, continuing that, like, did you mean, are we still
having a party? Where's the party?
Is the party downstairs or is it happening now?
Am I
about to get slapped with a lawsuit?
Because she delivers
Am I about to get slapped? Yeah.
Well, I mean, good or bad. She delivers it so like you don't know. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. It's like, So we then transition to, like, we see, like, she walks out and Tony's downs his martini, basically like stealing himself over what comes next. And so we have a scene change, and now Tony Stark is in the Iron Man armor, drunk and scratching records.
Yes.
So it's like, oh no, things have gone badly. So as we're gonna get into some other stuff, we have to then take a little pivot into a more serious subject here, because we have a lot of fun on this show, but some things are not funny, and one of those is drug use. And so unfortunately, the DJ that we see here is an actual real. He was a real DJ named DJ AM. He's playing himself in this movie. He came to the set because Jon Favreau had heard of him and used him, and everybody fell in love with him. He actually, between sessions, he was actually like playing music for all the extras. Like he had a little party going the whole time, and of course he had to be silent when they were actually shooting. And he was actually showed Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. how he does what he does. He like taught them how to do DJ stuff, and everybody loved him. And unfortunately, 2 months after this, he had a massive drug overdose and died. His name was Adam Michael Goldstein. So I didn't actually know much about him, but I knew that this film, Iron Man 2, is actually dedicated to him. So I wanted to take a moment to dig in a little bit and find out, like, who was this guy and what did he do? And obviously, nothing we can talk about is going to be well enough to do, but this just be a small bit, and maybe you can then, if you're interested, dig in. There's a documentary they made about him. I could not find it streaming anywhere else. I would have sent you that way, but it's out there. So he started out as DJing clubs, and he joined a band called Crazy Town. Now, Crazy Town might not be familiar to somebody, but if you've heard the song Butterfly, then you know Crazy Town. Come, my lady, come, my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar, baby. That's Crazy Town. So he was a member of them. And then he sort of left that group and became like a professional DJ, which is what he always wanted to do, and was doing okay. And then he started dating Nicole Richie. So at this time, this is around 2001, 2002, she was one of the biggest celebrities in the world. Like, I know it's a weird world we're living in now, but the early 2000s were just as bizarre.
It's amazing, yeah.
So The Simple Life was the biggest show on the biggest network, which was MTV. Right. And like everybody knew, even if you didn't watch it, you knew who they were because they were everywhere. So he started dating her, and suddenly his profile then raised up equally, and then he started getting it. Now, obviously, I'm not saying it's because of that, but because it's the notoriety. So like then suddenly who's this guy, and then suddenly people go hire him, and unless you're good, you don't get to keep getting gigs. So if you're a bad DJ, it doesn't matter who you're dating, you're not going to get anywhere. And by all accounts, he was a good DJ, so much so that he actually got a gig at Caesar's Palace for $1 million. I mean, for a DJ, like, I mean, that's like Caesar's Palace in Vegas, like he was the guy, like he had to go there. So as he got bigger, he actually formed up with Travis Barker, and the two of them formed a group that I really can't pronounce what it's called, but it's like TRV $DJAM. So
yeah, I don't know what that means.
To jam, right? But this is what's always so strange to me about celebrity and stuff too, is that he actually had, at that point in 2008, this was 2 years before, or actually, I would say probably a year before, had just survived a fatal plane crash. Like if they were flying South Carolina, on takeoff, the plane crashed. Everyone on board except for Travis and him were killed. So he had just like dodged death, and yet not like barely 2 years later he would be dead. It's so strange how these things work out. So he actually had been working a lot of stuff. He had been involved with DJ Hero. He had actually just started shooting an MTV show because he had been struggling with drug addiction his whole life, and so he wanted to document that. And so he actually had a reality show where they were doing that. Actually, so he was still shooting it when he died of a drug overdose, and so they actually did end up airing it just as sort of as a cautionary tale. So he was found 2 months after he shot this cameo, dead in his apartment of an overdose. And so they actually created a fund called the DJAM Memorial Fund, an organization designed to help people struggling with drug addiction. At this point, I don't think it's still going. I could not find anything online that says it's still around accepting money. But if you are moved by his story or want to know more, I would suggest that you reach out to your local community and find drug rehab programs to donate to or volunteer at, because they're doing the great work. We're just sitting here doing our silly little show about Marvel movie minutes, but they're actually going out and helping people. And so if we could avoid to have another one of these situations, that would be ideal.
Absolutely.
So this film is dedicated to DJM. This episode is dedicated to DJM. Not that anyone cares, but it's a horrible scourge that's going on, and people need help. They don't need to be locked up. They don't need all this stuff. They need help, and this is what we're headed to do. So let's pivot back to our silly little show. Okay, you want to say something?
And I just want to say, I mean, that was outstanding. I mean, that's everything. His story about the plane crash is incredible. It's off of like a Learjet in South Carolina. It's amazing. Yeah,
4 people died.
Yeah, 4 of the 6. I mean, he and Travis were the 2 that survived. And their group name, I know it's the $, but I think it is just Travis DJAM. Like, I mean, it's a take on that. That's what that probably is. No, it's I honestly forgot about this. Because I remember hearing this, I think, vaguely when the movie came out, because obviously, again, the movie comes out after he had tragically passed away. But, my daughter just the other day, this whole weekend, she's been watching Glee. And, you watch episodes of Glee. Yeah. And you watch episodes and you go, 3 of these people are no longer with us. Yeah. And it is gut wrenching. Yeah. And so obviously, especially in this, I mean, if anybody knows anyone who needs help, I mean, there are so many different great resources to go out and get help. And obviously we realize that sometimes those demons just really sadly are out of our control, right? Like, I mean, like, and we can just try to get all the help you can, because really they are real and crazy. It's a bummer. When you read the stories about, I did read the thing where they had planned to shoot this scene in a day, and instead they extended it for a week. And he just had so much fun with the cast. He's teaching Jon Favreau how to DJ and stuff. And the skill, I will tell you this. I know people would say it's a DJ. What's more to it? Well, let me tell you this. Back in the day, right, when I used to go different places and stuff with friends and everything, to continue a vibe in a hall of 1,000, 1,500 people, and to do it nonstop for 6 hours, that's hard.
Yeah. DJing is a weird thing because you only notice it when it's bad.
Yes.
Because you think like, oh, you're just putting songs in a row. What's the big deal?
No.
Well, we've all been to weddings where the DJ was terrible. And like those ones stand out because you assume a level of competence, which means it's really freaking hard to do.
Yes, it is very hard to do. And especially with like modern DJs today, especially if you're going to places like casinos or things like that, they're mixing and mashing beats and things, and they're doing it to keep an energy that goes and to sustain that energy for an extended period of time and to do it well. People, this is hard. Like you have to have an incredibly interesting, emotional and mental understanding of what people want to hear, and then just have the technical prowess to like put it all together and make it happen in real time. Yeah. That's the part, because they're literally going with the flow, the ebb and the flow of the people in the room. It takes a lot of talent, and just obviously all
and like just for our sake, he was basically between our ages.
Yeah, he's 36.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? Yeah,
when he died, he died. But I'm saying like he was born a little bit earlier than me and a little bit later than you.
Oh
he would have been at this point he'd have been our same age.
Oh yes. Oh no. I know you're totally right. You're absolutely right. Now rest in peace. And
if you want to, his stuff is still out there. So I mean, like if you search on iTunes, if you search on YouTube, his mixes are still out there, so you can see him doing what he was put here to do. And unfortunately, we got too little of it.
Yes.
So pivoting out of that, speaking of music, the song that Tony Stark is scratching on here is "California Love," which was a amazing collaboration between Tupac and Dr. Dre, which at the time was a huge deal. Like the fact that they got two of them on the same song, that stuff didn't happen in the 90s, but this one did. It came from the 1996 album "All Eyes on Me." It has a terrific music video too, if you want to check that out. So we immediately cut from the party to what's more exciting than a Tony Stark party? It's the line of cars outside. Okay.
Wait. Just a couple things, just quick to slip in there. So a few really neat things happen before we go to the cars. So we see Tony. He's in his full suit. The suit looks fairly bulky.
Yeah.
And I know that's because this is all a practical effect, and the suit isn't always a fully practical effect.
No. Yeah. So this is one of the last times we'll ever see a full practical suit.
Right. And so it does looks a little bit weird because it's obviously a full-grown human is inside it.
Yeah.
So that's the first problem, right? But then, I just love, we got two references here. As he's playing the song and Tony's just got this half-drunk smirk on his face. I love that he does a fist bump with DJ AM. And dude, man, DJ AM acts it up totally because he takes the fist bump, but then he's like, "Ooh, ouch, man, okay." No,
of course.
It's so great. I mean, it's perfectly acted, man. I mean, it completely sells it. And then you also have, for those of you who listen to our sort of like the preseason show about comic books and everything else, we've talked about, they've mentioned in these things that Tony loves the ladies. There's a whole bunch of ladies that, are sort of a part of him. Well, I think that's kind of the reference. We get the shot of all these girls in different states of dress.
I think they're all blonde and all wearing little black dresses.
They're not all blonde, but I mean, there's a big variety here. But like they're all here for Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just it's a little bit weird, but okay, sure, whatever. And just craziness. Like, there's some people in their bathing suits and there's people in cocktail dresses. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Because Rob, California knows how to party.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I just think that's kind of funny. And then, obviously we've seen Pepper. Pepper has got her, she's walked in the middle of all this and she sort of has a concerned face. So.
Yeah. So meanwhile, out in the driveway, we see a line of cars. We have Rhodey is driving the 2008 Audi A8 LD3. I knew you all knew that, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I knew that. Also, in that same shot, we have a 2008 Rolls-Royce Phantom Drophead Coupe. Boy, that Favreau loves him some Rolls-Royce, doesn't he?
Really does.
There's a 2008 Maserati Gran Turismo. There is a 2005 Ferrari F30 Spider and a 2007 Aston Martin V8 Vantage Roadster. So these are pretty high-end cars, and also pretty new. Like these are all within the last couple of years. So, he's attracting a rich clientele here to his party.
They timelessly look expensive.
Yes.
That's what that's saying. Also, too, I gotta love the whole retro, the look of this. And again, I like the geography and that we talked about the overhead shot as we were transitioning to this a few minutes ago. You see the fountain. So that fountain, that circular fountain that's incredibly well lit and very 60s-ish is right there. Mm-hmm. And I love like the balls of light that are on the wall. Like it's just, it's a lot of concrete, it's a lot of glass, and just these really beautiful different ways of illuminating it all. It's gorgeous. If you're into that style, that contemporary style.
True. So Rob, do you think that Tony Stark co-signed on the loan for Rhodey's car? Because Rhodey is a colonel in the army. There's to get a 2008, and this, in 2010 essentially is when this movie is taking place. That's a lot of money.
We don't know anything about Rhodey's family.
I don't know about Rhodey. We don't know much about Rhodey's family or where his money comes from, but I'm just curious. Or do you think, did Tony give it to him? It just seems like a pretty high-end car for a...
Wow.
Now that being said, I'm going to do a small aside just because I can see these military guys so they're cracking their knuckles like, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you a small story about my cousin. So he was working in the Air Force, and so he was deployed out there, and he was a cargo specialist. So basically he would figure out like when you drop something out of a plane, where's it going to land? Not bombs, but like all the other stuff, like logistically. So that's what his job was. So he flew in the big planes, like the cargo planes and stuff too. And so while he was deployed, he was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a brand new car. Like, I'm going to get a car. He's like, and so much so that he went to BMW and actually created his car from scratch. Like he went point by point, like, this is what I want. Like, I want these wheels. I want these brakes. I want, like, he customized everything and then had it shipped from Germany all the way back over to Louisiana, which is where his home base was. So he said, and so he told me, like, and he got it, and and as far as I know, he still has it. But he said, I learned an important lesson. Never make financial decisions when you're not paying for rent or food or insurance.
I was just gonna say,
because
I was gonna
he got back and suddenly was homestead. It was like, oh no,
no. Okay, you totally nailed it. My father would probably have something to say about this because when my father was in the Air Force during the 60s, my father had a variety of Corvettes because. He'd get one and then he'd trade it in for the next one, right? Because there were no other expenses.
Right.
So there is a little bit of, that could very well be. Well, and here's the thing. Well, this is an interesting dive on the character as we've seen Rhodey as portrayed in this.
Right.
First of all, if Tony offered to say, here, have this car, I would think Rhodey, I would say no, he wouldn't take it. He wouldn't accept it.
Yeah, I'd say probably not.
So there's more. Ooh.
Yeah. I know. It's just as we were talking about it, suddenly occurred to me like, I wonder if he's like a guy. Is he just doing well for himself? Does he just really like nice things, or is that he's hanging out with a guy who makes a lot of money and he's okay with sponging off him, kind of like I am with you?
Interesting. Interesting. Jesus, seriously. Interesting opportunity though to tell an interesting story because you have the shot that you were purposely showing cars coming up.
Yeah.
You have all of these cars that are obviously very expensive. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it have been interesting to have him show up in like a Honda Accord?
Right.
Well, yeah. And you didn't.
I mean, he doesn't work for Lockheed Martin. He works for the United States military. Well, unless you're, I say maybe we can have some of our fans in uniform tell us more, but I don't even think even a full bird colonel or a general really makes that much. I'm not, of course, not in the millionaire thing, but is it a comfortable living? I'm curious.
I don't know. I always see whenever they show on NCIS, the generals, and they're all living in pretty nice houses.
Yeah, but is it the houses that they bought, or is it that were bought for them?
It's all more. Ooh, tell it. We need feedback.
Yeah,
That's something we totally would love to discuss more.
Yeah. Rhodey is, speaking of commanding officers, Rhodey is on the phone with his. So I assume whatever his immediately supervisor is it General Ross? No, General Ross is in Brazil right now. Or at least he's
in a van
with the body bag. Yeah, he's in a van.
Somewhere.
Right, he's in a van, yelling at his new British friend. So obviously it's not going well, and so Rhodey is saying, "Yes, sir, I understand. No, sir, that will not be necessary. I'll handle it." Which I'm trying to figure out what is happening on the other side of this thing. Which once again, there like we talk about like when you can't handle the truth as like big acting stuff, but like this acting stuff that you have to do as a professional actor is really hard, and it's you only notice it when it's done badly. Phone acting is hard because you're just pausing and having to do it again, and you have to be like, no, listen, can I just finish the and there's nothing on the other side. You have to be able to like sell it as if there were they have to fill in the other side of the conversation. Says no, sir, that one I was there. So what was not necessary? Like, we're gonna come in. This is though he's talking about like rolling tanks down the PCH. We're gonna storm Stark Manor and take all of the suits. Says no, those are not necessary. I'll handle it, sir. I personally guarantee that within 24 hours, Iron Man will be back on watch. Oh, that's a pretty bold statement. Back on watch. So back on watch. I'm not familiar with that phrasing. I mean,
back on watch is that
on base, like he's on task.
In the field. Yeah, he's doing what he's supposed to do. That's going to take a lot of coffee.
Sure will.
Dude, okay. He doesn't know what's going on inside those doors yet. Wait until he gets in there. Oh, boy.
Yeah. So as we see him enter the party, as like we see just various party goers around having their, doing their party business. Because, you really know it's a great party when you're standing by the entrance. No, I'm just happy I got invited.
Well, now, okay, so are you getting now when he walks in and we get this full shot of, again, a whole bunch of attractive ladies in the cocktail dresses. Do you notice something, though, about the two gentlemen that are standing with them?
I had not.
They are in uniforms.
Oh, private security.
Well, it looks like military dress uniforms. I was a little confused by this, and I couldn't find anything about this. Both gentlemen, they have one bands on their coat cuffs.
Okay.
And it looks like they have name badges and maybe some other military insignia on their coats. Now, it's way too far away to get in there and decide what it is. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, though, because Tony's only been out of the weapons business for a year at this point.
Right.
So he would have lots of friends and contacts in all the different branches and things.
And these might just be friends, associates, and stuff, and they're there.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. There's a lot you could derive from them being there and talking to ladies.
So as Rhodey is walking in, then he sees Pepper, who looks not that happy. So she goes out and he says, "Hey, Pepper," and she says, "I'm going to get some air." And Rhodey's like, "What's wrong?" And then there's a weird edit. And we're going to get into exactly why that is, because this scene was vastly rewritten and reshot. And I think we're going to get one or two things that we're going to discuss in the deleted scenes that we were able to find, but even Jon Favreau talks about this. And so I believe they shot this whole thing and then went away and they came back in the reshoots and redid all of this stuff. And I think that's where DJ AM actually came in, was during the reshoots. And so because if you look really, really carefully as you're looking, you'll see that Pepper is holding something. As she walks back, it's just under frame. They cut it just right, but you can see she's actually holding something, and you see it pop up a little bit in the frame. And we're going to talk about what that is in a future minute. As we get to the end of this sequence, we're going to talk about what the alternate version of this sequence is.
I think it's a box of tissues.
Oh, a box of tissues. Interesting.
So
like crying her tears as she watches him with Natalie.
Replace
me with a younger model. What's gonna happen?
Just wait until we get to the next minute, because I have some things to say about Pepper Potts. Let me just put it all out there right now. So this ends,
as this weird edit goes, then all of a sudden Pepper goes from leaving to then going back instantly with Rhodey.
Because we hear in this edit, to cover the edit, there is a sound of glass breaking.
Yeah.
And then there's, yes, we cut from that to a weird shot of her coming into view.
Yeah, and then basically like gesturing to like everything that's going on, and she goes, I don't know. And that's where the minute ends.
So something bad's about to happen.
Something bad is going to happen. Yeah. To all of us. We're all going to equally suffer together here. So the sign of any good party is the party favors you get to take home. And if you enjoy the party that we're throwing here on the Marvel Movie Minute, you can get your own party favors over at nextreel.com/merch.
Yes!
That's right. We've got our own merchandise. We've got our logo. You can slap it on anything. You can put it on a mask, on a shirt, on a mug, on a sticker, whatever you want to. Show that you have shown up to this party to all your friends, and maybe they'll come and join the party as well.
You know what we should get? It would be nice. We should get red cups.
Oh, yes.
With the
red and gold cups. Ooh.
Oh,
maybe even can we get something etched? Like, can we get like a Stein?
Oh, that sounds amazing. Okay, I'm on that.
I'm already trying to think of what pun I would put on it.
You just buy the stuff.
Ain't no party like a Stark party because a Stark party is powered by arc reactor? No.
Yeah.
There's something in there.
Yeah, there's something, but just in the meantime.
We're on all the socials. Come up with a better tagline than us, and we'll put it on a logo.
Yeah.
We're going to find out what horrible thing is happening on the other side of that. We do the reaction cut over at 55. So do not miss it. We will be there. This is a party you do not want to miss. Enough said.
Bye.